Aloha from the beautiful Big Island of Hawaii. I'm Corey Gala, holistic beauty and wellness consultant, and I am so happy to be back this week. I was off last week, taking a little respite, but I am back today with new content and a new guest. I'm very excited. My guest today is Todd Stockwell, success coach. So I'm looking forward to speaking with him. I have been taking a little bit of surveys, asking questions about, let's talk about health. And so I'm going to do something a little bit new this week. I'm not going to talk too much about my own research or my own knowledge of the subject. And let's talk about health is the idea is to shorten our show to about 30 minutes. So we're going to go ahead and see how that goes today. That's something new. But as I told you, I'm always interested in your feedback and information and improving my show. So I am basically going to give you a brief introduction and then we will go straight to our interview. But I would love it if you check out my YouTube channel at Corey Gala. My YouTube channel is Corey Gala just Corey Gala on YouTube, but also my website, CoreyGala.com. My website again is CoreyGala.com, and that website was designed and is maintained and managed by AMEstudios.com. Thanks, guys, doing a great job. Also, please do email me with questions, comments, possible subjects that you want to discuss in the realm of health, wellness, holistic living. So I am really happy to hear what my viewers have to say about the show and what they're interested in and what they'd like to see. I would love to make that happen for you. And again, feel free to ask me any questions that you might have. My email is Corey@CoreyGala.com. That's Corey@CoreyGala.com. My name is spelled KORIGAILA.com. So I look forward to hearing from you guys soon. So Todd Stockwell is my guest today, and he is going to talk about art therapy, which is super exciting for me. I was very interested in art. I even kind of started out as an art major in college, but was kind of always told that wasn't a great major. In retrospect, I kind of regret that I didn't follow through with my own passion, but I am so fascinated about this topic and how art therapy is really so beneficial at helping individuals heal from emotional traumas and different issues that may be causing misery in their lives. But not only does Todd work with art therapy, he has a lot of information for education and personal growth, but he also works with corporations and companies and business owners to really help with the health and vitality of businesses. So extending wellness out and beyond, which is that idea of holistic. So it is our environment, and environment not just meaning our natural world, but our day-to-day environment, our living environment, our workplace, our communities. So I'm very excited to bring him on. We're going to go ahead and take a short break, and I will be right back after the break with our guest, Todd Stockwell. Visit CoreyGala.com and schedule your wellness consultation to receive a custom-designed, scientifically sound behavior action plan that is holistically based. Browse the website and enjoy free articles and valuable health and beauty information. Receive your free holistic skincare ebook, CoreyGala.com. Okay, and I'm back with my guest, Todd Stockwell, success and life coach. Welcome, Todd. Good to see you today.
Thank you. I'm excited about joining you today.
Yeah, we talked a little bit briefly. Todd is very multifaceted. He has a lot of talents and he does a lot of different things. And we came across one another in a social media group, and we kind of started a conversation. And we do some things quite similarly. And then he has this just an abundance of other talents that I don't share with him. And he also has a number of different courses on your website. I was looking at some of your courses that you offer, and you offer just an abundance of different courses for self-improvement and success. Do you want to tell me just a little bit about that?
Yes. Basically we've shifted a lot, in just a lot of shifts are happening everywhere, obviously, with business change, individual change. We've evolved, and so I'm doing everything that I can to help individuals and companies, even cities,
Wow.
governments. So to succeed, executives. Just the everyday, individual, who's ready to change what they're here to do. So, yeah.
Right, and their paradigm and how they view the world. I guess that's how, when I was looking at what you do, that's how I was kind of relating to you in that, I work very holistically. And so when I use the word holistic, it really is this incorporation of body, mind, soul, spirit, and understanding this interconnectedness of all things, and, how we engage in as individuals, or say as a company, corporation, or as a city, even broader and beyond. Of course, with this interconnectedness, it does affect everything around us. And as we were talking on the phone, before today, we kind of touched on that a little bit, and how how we approach business really is very connected to our health and well-being. And I think that we've been seeing that with COVID, and that's sort of this manifestation of what's happening right now with COVID, and how we've really had to rethink the way that we do business and the way that we look at health, and how we work with our employees, how corporations are seeing things. And I don't know if you have some insight into that. Maybe you could share with me.
Yeah, well, when we get into a group, it's important that we know that just like you say, we're all connected. It becomes another core, a core of being, where even a business needs healing. Especially a business needs healing. So we need to look at it in a different way, that we can heal what's in front of us, rather than, oh, I need to leave because, this job's horrible or something. Let's see, how can we fix it? How can we, maybe not really fix it, but how can we correct our whole connection? The big picture is the most important thing. Of course, that has to come from the top in a business, so a lot.
So really getting those corporations, those boards to kind of the board to jump on board, so to speak, or business owners to kind of shift how they're viewing what their bottom line is. In capitalism, we're often, really pushed into bottom line as far as profits, but if your entire staff is like falling down because they're all overworked and exhausted and, trying to keep up, you obviously are going to lose productivity, right? I mean,
oh, completely. That's that's where a lot of the training that I do, is about helping the staff, too. If I am working with a company, then I can go in and find out what the challenges are. Art therapy is a great thing for some groups, and then some it doesn't. It's not the best thing. So I would check and I'd find out, what it is that really is would be the best thing for that group, and so but it
So,
is
so you would work, oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
it
Sorry.
is that holistic reality, that we have to see the whole, see the complete picture to actually realize what it is that needs to heal and how to correct it. So.
Mm-hmm. And so I guess I heard you mention art therapy, and I'm very interested because, I was an artist. I've never really engaged in art therapy per se, but I did have another guest, we were talking a lot about meditation for healing, but then she had mentioned that with some of the groups that she works with, she's used art therapy and she's had these profound transformations for individuals. And I'm assuming it kind of brings up subconscious stuff going on. I'm not really so familiar, but it sounds like that's something you might bring into like a group setting or a business setting to work with staff, employees, maybe leaders. Can you elaborate a little bit? Because I'm just really curious as to this whole approach and what you're doing.
Yes, with the art therapy that I do, the Power Beyond, I've worked with schools with it. I've worked with companies with it. I've worked with educators, a whole bunch of different groups where we've had massive success. I've also worked with art therapy with developmentally disabled. I worked with developmentally disabled for 5 years and had massive success. Including helping one individual who had a lot of seizures. They were having about 30 a day, and we got it down to like one a month.
Wow.
So we changed diet a bit too, because just like you say, holistically, there's things to change. But that was a big thing, was the art therapy and music. I incorporate music and art because it gives more. It gives you more of a reality of shift. Because
Music is so healing. Like the vibrations of the music are really so healing. Even like with sound therapy, I work with sound therapy with Tibetan bowls and things, and I do know that those different sounds can be very healing. But I'm curious as to exactly like say I brought you into, I actually was a special ed teacher for a while, so I identify with that when you say that you've worked with children with developmental disabilities. And so say I'm, working with my class and we decide that art therapy would be, beneficial for my students. And I call you up. What does that look like when you come into the classroom? Like, I genuinely don't really know anything about art therapy, but I've heard it now several times, and I'm just so curious as to what a session would look like if I was bringing in an art therapist.
Okay, well, I guess it would depend on where the group is. I would want to find out a little bit more on if we need to utilize crayons, what kind of paint we could use possibly. So obviously with paint, we'd probably use like the all natural stuff, the tempet paint, I think it's called tempera. Yeah, that's all natural. And so if we did paint, usually what I do is I get the big rolls and we roll them out, and then I have individuals work.
I mean, big rolls of paper, right?
Yeah,
okay.
Paper. Yeah.
Okay.
So it just depends, like I said, it would depend on the group, how big the group was, where we thought there might be challenges, and how we would go about it. So I've had it where that the group, some individuals use crayons, some individuals use paint, it just depends. So.
And so, I mean, when you say paint and crayons or whatever the medium is, are you basically like, would you do something along the lines of say, oh, okay, we're talking about what it means to be sad today, or what it means to be, how are you dealing with emotions, or are you giving them a subject? Like, how do you determine what the theme is, or how how would this be deemed as being, say, like therapeutic, as opposed to just, coloring or something along those? What is the distinction there that makes it the under that like framework of art therapy?
Okay, well, energy, energy is a big thing. Focus, the music, I can utilize music. That would be angst at one point to help them release things. Switch it back over to more peaceful stuff, to the next painting. There's different ways of shifting whatever it is that they need. I go about it in a core energetic space, because I can get to more stuff, and I make sure that I'm monitoring how things are going, when I'm doing it, or if somebody else is doing it that I've trained, they'll know how to do that as well. So.
Yeah, so and when I explain energy a lot, because I work with yoga therapy and meditation and things of that nature, but sometimes for people who are not super familiar with that, or think, ooh, that's woo woo, I do explain a little bit about like our electromagnetic field. Like we do have energy that flows through our body, and especially if you're working with Eastern medicine, you're working with acupuncture, you're working with Ayurveda, you really are looking at these energies. But also, like, I think in Western thought, most often I think what's associated with, say, energy would be emotions. We have these emotions. This is like we're really very sad, or we're really very, we're angry. And especially working with children, and especially children with special needs, right? Because again, I and my background is more specifically with children with autism, but for them to be able to even identify what they're feeling, because they have this subjective reality and they have this whole different framework. They don't have the experience of grown-up life to give them that objective perspective on what's happening to them, right? These things get really pent up and bottled up, and then it sounds like you are trying to help them release some of these emotions in a very like healthy and appropriate manner. Is that kind of what you would describe, how you would describe art therapy?
Yeah, it's a bit deeper, because when I talk about energy, I'm talking about more like releasing deeper stuff, because we hold density in our reality. And that's what creates our challenges. So,
right.
So we can work on getting rid of the density, and then it heals us,
Right. And so when you're saying density, so for those of you who, maybe aren't super familiar with holistic work, I also am a body worker. So that's one of the things when I'm working with, like, say, chronic pain. A lot of times these things begin as an emotion, and then if we don't deal with it at that time, it just gets more repressed, and then we just continue these same patterns of behavior, and then it gets denser and denser and denser. It actually can create pain or health issues in the body. And so, as a massage therapist, that's one of the things that I work with, like, in a very different way, but I just really want to explain to the viewers what that means. And that is what happens, when emotions become repressed. They do become denser and denser, and then to the point where they can begin to dictate our reality in a way. We just become very reactive because of these past wounds. I mean, does that sound like that's in alignment with your perspective? Yeah.
Yes, and we have different things that are automatic because of our ancestry, so there's different things that we might not be able to figure out, but energy is where everything starts, like you say, the electrical, the magnetics, that's who we are, so everything else is just a dense form, that it's time to let go of,
There is such this identification with the physical being, and my undergraduate work is in philosophy, and I did have a professor who was very much a materialist, and we would go back and forth about acupuncture, you know, and I really did have to bring up, you know, get into physics and this idea that ultimately everything is energy. So when energy gets denser and denser and denser, we have matter. And that is basically how we have this human form. But, you know, he was just going to argue and argue. And I think at some point I kind of won. Well, I think he became very flustered, but, you know, he really couldn't argue. And the more science is really looking at this, you know, atomic level and subatomic level, we're understanding how much that energy does affect us. And so that can be, you know, our thoughts, you know, our mind, what we're projecting into the world, all of these things. And, you know, that's how acupuncture works. It really does work on the energetic field. That's how a lot of body work is, and Ayurveda. And so it sounds like art therapy can really get into some of those things that maybe people can't consciously identify with, but it just allows for this very healthy space to release that so that it's no longer impairing them.
Yes, I mean, I'd have individuals who would be argumentative. Why am I doing art? You know, at the beginning, and at the end, they're just like, oh, I feel so peaceful. This is great, you know, and that's what it's about, you know. Okay, you got some fight in you about it, but when you actually do it, you will release, and that's massive.
That's amazing.
A lot of stuff, you know.
So it's very tragic, you know, that so much, as far as the schools are going, you know, so many of the public schools are really kind of doing away with art and music. And I think that that's tragic, because I believe that that's very vital to child development, and obviously gives children a very safe space to release their feelings. It gives them a very good way, because oftentimes, especially with children, young children or children with developmental issues, or, you know, even grown-ups, right, cannot necessarily put their feelings into words. So they have these other behaviors that are maybe an unhealthy expression, right? If you have anger and you're throwing a computer across the classroom, that obviously isn't the best choice for dealing with your anger, right? So it sounds like, you know, I mean, I agree, it makes sense that art is a very safe and wonderful way for them to express what's going on. I mean, they might not have writing skills to be able to journal and things like that, but I mean, really, children as soon as they're able to hold a crayon, like you brought up crayons, really do have that ability to express themselves, or even finger paint. You know, they might not even need to hold a crayon, like finger painting, right?
Yep. That's the other way with the painting, you know. Definitely finger painting was a part of it. Like I said, this works on any level, though. You know, I mean, I can go, you know, from what you're talking about, where we're working with developmentally disabled that are, you know, challenged in this, but it can be the, you know, the highest IQ folks that are out there, you know, and it's going to help them too. So that's the beauty of art therapy too, is it's going to reach you. You don't have to think about it. You don't have to try to figure things out. You don't have to analyze. All that analytical stuff's out of the way. So
that's true. That's true. You can just tap into that other part of your being. You know, as you were speaking, so I did start out in university as an art major, and, you know, I was told by family, well, you can't be an art major. You can't be an art major. What are you going to do with a degree in art? And, you know, then I went to dance, and, well, you can't be a dance major. I'm just like, well, what am I supposed to do, you know? But I remember as this small child, and, you know, I had a tumultuous childhood in ways. I don't like to go too much into it, but I would escape for hours into art. It was this safe space that was just all my very own, and nobody could come in, and it was with me wherever I went, and it just was so natural to me. And I never really recognized that it was self-therapy. Probably, like, as I'm listening to you, I'm actually understanding that I probably was doing self-care as a very young child without even being cognizant of it.
Yeah, and we're all here to create too. So there's also an aspect of that. You're creating something when you're doing the art. So your body, your brain can sit there and go, hey, I created something, and be happy about it and content about it too. And
That is funny.
that's an achievement, whether you realize it or not. Your system can realize that, your physical system, when I say brain and body, that's our physical system.
Mhm.
The way I speak anyhow, so I'll try to explain it a little. And so with that, a lot of times, our body and brain try to hold things,
Mhm.
densities and stuff like that. But when you get into that zone of creation, then they can
Let it
get on
go.
board and just let things go.
You got to let it go. That's
Yeah.
right. Well, there was something I wanted to ask. Oh, yeah. So, how would you handle a situation with an individual who is, as you're saying, creative, right? So you're creating something. So there's this satisfaction in that creating. How would you assist an individual who was hypercritical or a perfectionist? I know that I am guilty of that in my past, and I know I've worked with children who also are quite, self-criticizing, or even adults, about their work doesn't look so great, or they're not happy with the end result. How would you help somebody overcome that inhibition of what that final product looks like?
Well, the thing that I do is we normally are creating multiple things, and the focus isn't necessarily what the end product looks like, but it does tend to, a lot of times we'll work as a group, and so therefore, I put a lot of focus into not thinking about what you're doing.
Mm-hmm.
Get the brain out of the way, just do.
Mm-hmm.
And by the end, when we've done a bunch of stuff, then the real stuff starts to be created, because we've gone through the steps that help to release all that stuff. So
That's awesome. I love that. I love that. That's awesome. So now getting into, like, say, corporate world, and I've studied a little bit with industrial psychology and behavior science. I mean, I'm a behavior scientist, right? So that's a whole different aspect of looking at a company as its own, like, entity. Really, it is its own sort of organism and how it functions. And so in the same way that, say, we have, like, the human body, right, we can have something off and it can set the whole system off, right? So if it sounds like you would have a company, say, could call you,
Yep.
and they're having an issue with, I don't know, having staff show up to work on time and productivity, or whatever, the communication, that's a huge one, right, between staff and management, right?
Yeah.
So it sounds like you would actually come in and address the group with these therapies, yes?
Yes, I would look at the big picture. I would figure out what the best plan is. Usually what I do is, like I say, holistically or big picture, find out what I see quickly are the biggest challenges, and what we have to do to break, whatever that break is, how we can clear that that space in the quickest, smoothest way. I whenever I'm working, I'm working at trying to elevate, to the highest as quick as possible, so in a company, I don't figure that I'll be there that long. Sometimes it's years, but it just depends. But yeah, so I would just figure out what it is that I perceive, because I've been doing this a long time, and I can kind of figure out a lot quickly.
Right.
So,
Right. And so you would offer, say, meditation,
yeah.
art therapy, talk therapy, just different sorts of ways to address these situations, to to heal the company.
Definitely.
What it sounds like.
Focus, figuring out the big picture goals and how to make them real and all those things. Yeah.
Right, because I know that I work in management, and I've worked in management. And looks like I'm going back to work here. The COVID, we're going back to work, so I will be managing again. It looks like, and one of the things that's so, I think, misunderstood, really, that I've seen, and not in my company. I have a really wonderful company, and we have a great HR, and we work with our, staff, and we work together to, kind of like target whatever issues might be causing friction, because, staff retention is just so vital. And I feel that there has been, I guess in the past 20 years or so, this idea that, staff is sort of disposable, that they're replaceable, easily replaceable, and that you can hire people and fire people, or they just leave if things aren't working out, as opposed to understanding that, you're going to have to go through this whole process of retraining, and then there's always going to be issues that are going to come up, and you can take your existing, employees, your existing team, your existing leaders and management, and really, if you can work with them, I mean, they're already there, they're already trained, they're already this valuable resource. They're not really disposable. You cannot genuinely, truly, really replace people. And from what I've seen, there's almost I've seen with, say, business owners, this, infatuation stage where they have a new employee and they think that's going to be their stellar star, team, and, this brand new shiny person that they bring in, without realizing that there is this sort of beginning stage in any relationship, like romantic relationship, working relationship, friendship, right? And eventually that kind of, the true nature, as things settle in a little bit, can start to come out. And then you do see these similar, say, or even different challenges, but everybody is imperfect. And eventually it gets to the point where you're facing maybe the same challenges you were with the person that you just disposed of, say, 6 months earlier, but now you've had to pay for all this training, you've had to put them on your benefits, you have unemployment to pay for. It becomes very problematic as far as being, cost efficient.
Right, and that's where I when I'm talking about correcting, systems, that, because what happens is, there's also, when you're talking about that, you're talking about you're spending how much money to advertise for jobs, for that you're hiring, all this kind of thing. But if you're correcting your system, then you're making your workers more happy.
Right.
You're helping them evolve. And then when they leave, they're telling their friends to come work for you.
Right.
So,
right.
So that's,
or if they leave, maybe they won't even leave.
Right.
Maybe they'll just recruit for you, right? Hey, I got this great job. We have an opening.
Yep. Yeah. So, but even if they leave, because they have something else that's different that they're ready to go do, they'll still be, open to helping you out, so.
Right.
And that's the biggest thing. Just like somebody who says, "Oh, I'm tired of this job and I'm gonna run out. I'm gonna go get a different job." Well, they're gonna go create the same thing at that other job if they didn't let that thing go.
Right. Right.
And
It's
that's why we
true.
focus on each individual letting it go too, and that's where our therapy works so greatly.
Right. That's so, that's actually so true. And then I really love the idea of what's the common denominator in this situation. And I really do bring this up, like if I'm working with individuals and it's a repeating and recurring pattern, and it's following them in every situation, maybe it's time to kind of look inward as opposed to projecting everything is happening out here. If you're chronically and continually creating the same pattern, then obviously there needs to be a break in your own patterning, and you need to figure out what that underlying issue is, because again, like you said, you're going to continue to recreate it. And that's very profound also if you're thinking about systems, because if you don't correct the system, you will continually recreate the same problem, right? So
Right.
it goes from the microcosm to the macrocosm, right? It goes from the individual to the group.
Yes.
That makes a lot of sense.
Worse if it doesn't get better.
Right.
So the next step would be, more challenging if you don't take care of it now. Yeah.
That's absolutely true. And then you just have this big mess. And
Yeah.
so why bother? Why not just fix it? Preventative. I'm a big preventative girl. So, all right. Well, so now if our viewers are interested in what you do, they want to get in touch with you, what is the best way for them to get a hold of you?
They can reach me by phone. That's very easy. They can text or call at 734-740-9110. Or they can go to my website, and it has the number. It is beyond1111.com, so it's beyond1111.com. Beyond1111.com.
Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. I am so glad that we had this talk today, and thank you so much for giving me more insight into art therapy. I am going to delve into that deeper because my inner artist is wanting to express after this conversation. So I'm so happy that you were here today. And again, to our viewers, if you are interested, and I'm assuming that you're also able to work virtually right now. Is that correct?
Yes.
Are you able
Yes,
to do
yeah.
that?
Yeah.
All right, wonderful. So if this is something that our viewers are interested in, make sure to look up Todd Stockwell at beyond1111.com. Thank you so much. Oh, for 1111. Sorry,
Yeah.
Beyond 1111. 1111.
1111. Yep.
All right. Thank you so much, Todd. Have a great day.
You too.
Aloha.
Many people are searching for answers to health challenges. There are natural solutions for a healthy and empowered lifestyle that can be delivered right to your door. Email Carol at carolbirchwell.com and type Health with Corey in the subject line to receive a free ebook on essential oils. Visit carolbirchwell.com and connect with Carol via email for your free ebook. She will help you find the natural solutions that work specifically for you.
Again, thank you so much for joining me this week. I'm so happy that you decided to join us for Let's Talk About Health. Please check me out at CoreyGala.com. Until next week, stay happy, stay healthy.